2, 1, live.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges cricket podcast brought to you by SEAT. I woke up this morning and in my head I was singing, it's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas. Because hey, as cricket podcasts, I just said Christmas podcast, as cricket podcast hosts, the IPL is essentially Christmas season and Santa Claus is coming to town. We are a few days away from this year's IPL 2021. I think the only good thing about this pandemic has been that we've had 2 IPLs in the space of 7 months. Fingers crossed, everything goes off well. The cases in India are rising. So for all listeners, stay safe, be smart about when you're heading out, wear your mask, be sensible, because we hope everyone gets well soon, everything recovers, and most importantly, we hope the IPL goes off smoothly. Ashwin, I'm going to come to you first. How are you feeling about the IPL being only a few days away?
And I was feeling pretty good. And then you said the Edges and Sledges Christmas podcast. And now I'm all hyped suddenly. It's 9 a.m. It's 5 days away. And we just had this tournament in, October, November? I think I remember when the IPL got delayed in April, a full year ago. I was with you. We were together in India. And you said to me specifically, you said the only good thing about the IPL getting delayed in 2020 is that we might get 2 IPLs in 6 months, followed by a World Cup shortly after. And at least the first part of that is starting to happen. So very exciting. It's going to be great, man. Fantasy League has been set up. It's full steam ahead.
Yeah, I had to convince my wife that IPL does not happen every 6 months. I had to tell her that this is unusual. And this year I'm trying to get her to play fantasy cricket so that she at least watches a few games.
That's the
so
solution.
You can't beat him, join him. But DJ, how are you feeling?
I'm good, man. It feels like it was only a short while ago that we were commiserating with the Delhi Capitals for having lost that final. It takes quite a long time to come down from the IPL. So just as we've come down, the new one is almost upon us. And man, it's going to be a slightly shorter time period, but it's going to be more packed with games, more packed with fun. And man, it's crazy. It's upon us. It's less than a week away, and I can't wait for it, man. It's going to be cracking. All the best players back in action. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and they say that the IPL is a tournament where all 7 teams compete to meet Mumbai Indians in the finals. We've said this before as well on our podcast, but this year it's going to be fun. We're gonna do a team preview. Right? We're not going to select individual 11s for every team. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the 2 guys here on the podcast with me to talk about one team each, and we'll go into a little bit of specifics. So, for example, we'll start with Rajasthan Royals. It'll be Ashwin and me going in. DJ, if you want to add something, just jump in. But I'm going to alternate between you guys for the team so that we can spend enough time discussing the team, yet get through all 8 teams in the podcast.
So you're starting from the bottom of the table, right? From 2020 bottom of the table.
Yes.
Are we making our way up to the not to be mentioned Mumbai Indians?
We're going to talk about them right at the end, because there isn't that much to talk about. But let's get right into it. So at the bottom of the table last year, Rajasthan Royals. Ashwin, I'm going to come to you about the Royals. Now, we had their COO, Josh, on the podcast. We heard a lot about the auction strategy. We heard about how they went around picking players, doing mock auctions. And I have to be honest, after the Delhi Capitals, for me, I think Rajasthan Royals is the team I enjoy watching the most, and I do support them. I really, really enjoy watching them. But somehow in the last few years, nothing has clicked for them. So Ashwin, talk us through a little bit on Rajasthan Royals and who you think the key players are going to be.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're definitely a fun side to watch. No question about it. I think if I had to summarize it in one sentence, and I'll dig deeper in a second, but if I have to summarize in one sentence, this season for the Royals is going to come down to Jofra Archer's injury. That's it, right? They're so over-reliant on their 4 overseas players. They're especially over-reliant from a bowling standpoint. They have the bench strength on paper to do well. They just haven't come good. The domestics haven't come good. So to me, if Archer gets to play the lion's share of the season, they become slightly competitive. If not, great overseas talent, just don't have the depth, right? So, some highlights that I pick up, right? Let's go through overseas quickly, right? Stokes, phenomenal player, no question about it. I'm not his biggest fan, but you can't argue his numbers and his prowess. Archer, we've already talked about. They brought in a couple of new guys, right? Chris Morris, We talked to Josh about this there, or Jake about this at the auction episode that we talked with Rajasthan Royals, and it was part of the plan, etc. But the biggest buy was Chris Morris, who Delhi let go because he wasn't doing well. Anyway, I think that was a bit of a stretch for their budget. I think they pushed their limit a little bit. They probably could have made a couple of smarter buys, but they made the pick they did. Strategically, it gives them an all-round option, gives them a bowling option. I think if not for Archer, the only other thing I think I'm going to be watching closely is the younger local talent for Rajasthan. They kind of have a track record of bringing young Indian talent in, developing them and doing well. So like Jaiswal, really bright potential future star, right? He's going to do great things in the future. He might start to shine this season. We saw sparks from Riyan Parag last season. Very talented, really, lots of potential for that player moving forward as well. And then the other person they picked up that I think is going to be interesting is Shivam Dube, right? Another all-round option. They paid a pretty penny for him. He needs to be able to bat, hit some sixes, and deliver with the ball for them to come good. So I'd say overall, I think they're still bottom three for me, unfortunately, this season, unless they can create some moments of magic, thanks to some of the young domestic guys.
So two follow-up things on that. One, maybe I'll go to DJ on this. What do you think of Sanju Samson and his captaincy? Because it's tough to go out there, lead a team that has Butler, Stokes, Archer in the squad. It's tough to be left out of the T20 squad for the England series after having done not much wrong in Australia. And my personal gut feel is the Indian T20 World Cup squad is set. There's only one man who can make it into that, and that is Sanju Samson.
Yeah, I mean, Sanju Samson and the IPL is a love story that's gone on for a few years now. He burst onto the scene as an 18-year-old, I think, and I think he's only 25 or maybe 26 now. So although he feels like a veteran of the IPL, he's fairly young in terms of years. But I like the pick. I mean, one of the things that franchises tend to do is that they would rather go for a domestic player as a captain. And of course, we saw the issues. They actually let go of their captain from last year, right? Like Steve Smith was their captain last year, and they actually let go of him in the off season. So I think Sanju was the natural kind of successor in the sense that he's a domestic player. He's experienced in the IPL. He's a key player. We saw the form that he brought, particularly to the Sharjah leg last year. And as you say, he's an Indian national player as well. So I think a good choice for them, which allows them to rotate their overseas player rather than being forced to play a player that may not be contributing as much. So no quarrel with Sanju Samson being their captain. I just hope that he can translate this into a string of scores, right? And I mean, that's always been his issue, kind of inconsistency with flashes of brilliance, which remind us why we really enjoy watching Sanju Samson bat. So I think a good call from the Rajasthan Royals, and one for the future. And I think they see him very much as an investment for the future as well.
Yeah, and Ashwin, Morgan said that Butler and Stokes are going to open for the Rajasthan Royals. I don't know why he was commenting on that, but how explosive would that be? Butler and Stokes opening, Samson at 3. But then you can't help but think that Rajasthan Royals has never had a problem with the top 3. They've always had an astonishing top 3. The problem comes in the middle order because you lose 2 quick wickets and everyone else is exposed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I don't know why Owen Morgan's commenting on the Rajasthan Royals, but Butler, Stokes, and Samson as your top 3 is incredibly powerful. Very, very strong hitters. The challenge, exactly as you said, is who do you rely on next, right? Tewatia will come good once in a while. Dube will probably come good once in a while. Morris will probably come good once in a while. So you need one of these, and David Miller's still in the squad, but hasn't done much, honestly, in this format for a long time. I don't even think he'll get a game very often. But so you need one of these guys, a Jaiswal, a Vora, a Parag, one of these guys to kind of become that consistent number 5, which honestly the winning teams have done well because they have an option for somebody who can be consistent when you lose a couple of early wickets. And I know, Varun, that's your nightmare scenario is 15 for 3. If Rajasthan Royals with that top 3 get to 15 for 3, I do not see them bouncing back.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think they could have invested in an Indian middle order batsman the way Sunrisers Hyderabad did, but we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. DJ, I have to come to you for the next team. They were 7th last year, 7th out of 8th. They looked a little off color. The yellow looked to fade a little bit. They didn't have Mr. Cricket or Mr. IPL, Suresh Raina in the squad. So he's back. And I personally did the Chennai team just a few days ago with one of my friends over WhatsApp. And I was shocked because when I was putting together an 11, firstly, each one of these players looked fantastic on paper. They're no longer all old. They've picked up some very interesting new buys in Moeen Ali, Krishnappa Gautam. And I don't know if I sent you guys that clip of Pujara just smacking it in the nets, but oh my God, Pujara hit every ball out of the ground. So, sorry, without stealing your thunder, give us your perspective on MS Dhoni and the Chennai Super Kings.
Yeah, I mean, three-time champions, the Chennai Super Kings. As you said, I'm led by MS Dhoni, coached by Stephen Fleming. Rena's back, 34 years of age, retired from international cricket, so I'm sure he'll be raring to go.
And I have to say, looking fit as ever. He was next to Jaddu in one picture, and he was looking as fit as Jaddu.
Yeah, but Jaddu hasn't played anything for 2 months.
Jaddu's
so
still
got to
fit.
keep that in mind. Anyway, Hazelwood is pulled out, which is a bit of a blow for them. They approached Billy Stanlake reportedly, and he turned them down.
DJ, do you think Hazelwood just couldn't take bowling at Pujara? Like, he's like,
Yeah.
you know what? This guy has faced the
so.
most deliveries in the last 2 Australian tours. Now it's COVID. Times are tough as it is. You want me to fly down and bowl to Pujara in the nets every day for 6 weeks? Like, I think that's why he pulled out.
Yeah, surely. I mean, that's the theory going around on Twitter. So I'm not going to allow you to take credit for this as an original joke, just by the way. But I mean, it must have been horrendous for Hazelwood to imagine after that test tour of Australia just bowling to Pujara again. So, I mean, Pujara is an interesting buy, but we'll talk through that right now. So, for me, last year you said they finished 7th. So, like, the yellow of CSK was tending less towards gold and more towards shade last year. So, on the spectrum of yellow, I guess. But there are they've got their main strength, and the joke about the CSK always is dad's army, average age 35, and their buys during the auction did bear that out, right? They bought Moeen Ali and Robin Uthappa and these guys. So their main strength really is experience. Having been there at that stage, I'm not sure they would have budgeted for having to go through this squad for 4 years rather than just 3 before the mega auction. They didn't really make a big move during the mega auction. They let go of a couple of players. Kedar Jadav being one of them, of course, being let go, and they brought in Moeen Ali and stuff. But their weaknesses, I think, would outweigh their strengths. Unfortunately, their biggest strength being experience and knowing how to win. But they're slow in the field. There seems to be a little bit of lack of firepower up top. There's lack of game time. Remember, I mean, MSD doesn't play international cricket anymore. Rena's been out since last year. Jadeja's been off the field for 2 years. Robin Uthappa doesn't play international cricket anymore. Raidu isn't in the international setup either. So it seems like a team, unfortunately, of also Rans. But when you look at their best 11, right? And of course, there's the MSD question, right? I mean, you can always, it's kind of like when a great team is in a little bit of decline, like the Australia of the 2000s. When they go into decline, you keep thinking they're going to pull out stuff from like their hat, but they sometimes don't. But when you look at their best 11, it looks okay. Their opening is Gaikwad. He scored three half centuries back to back at the end of last season. Rena, you said, is back. It's either Raidu or Robbie batting for me. MSD, Jadeja, Karan, all quite interesting players. Thakur, I think, will play as well. Cheher, Bravo, Tahir. For me, the biggest question is how they start, right? And they had Faf last year who scored a lot of runs, but he scored them at like 140, which is decent, but it didn't really light up the IPL. They've lost Shane Watson from last year. Remember, he's retired. So for me, that acquisition of Moeen Ali is super important. Like, he, for me, has to open the batting with Gaikwad. And if that means that Faf sits out, so be it. So key player for me is actually Moeen Ali in that lineup.
It's very interesting.
DJ,
because...
I'm disappointed you mentioned that Shane Watson is retired, because I think Varun would have found a way to pick him in fantasy even if he wasn't in the squad this year. That would have been
He's
great.
due, man. He's due. But no, but I think, DJ, it's very interesting because you're not the first person who has said Faf should sit out for Moeen Ali. I personally don't agree with that. I think Dhoni will rely on Faf's experience. But remember, guys, it's a squad that is very different from 2 years ago. They've now found a little bit more of a balance. And I personally have a feeling that Chennai could be the surprise package this year, because you have to remember that Dhoni brings out the best in his players. And so, especially a Moeen Ali and a Sam Curran, for me, are crucial players who, when you've got MSD's backing, I have a feeling they can really thrive. So I think that part for me is going to be interesting. They've got enough Indian talent. It's interesting that even Robin Uthappa, Raidu may not get a game. So I think Dhoni is going to have to balance this out. The other thing is, if you're playing a Bravo, a Cheher, a Thakur, Chennai actually bats probably all the way till number 9, which I don't think too many teams do. So I think it's going to be a very interesting series. DJ said it really well. It depends a lot on how they start. I think if
Yeah,
Chennai,
and for me, actually, Ali should bat up top because he opens the batting in domestic T20 cricket with a lot of success, right?
Yeah,
And I don't
and
think that's been recognized as yet, because Sam Curran opened a bit last year, but we saw
yeah,
what he can do down the order, right? Just come in and smash.
yeah, and so
So
that's why it's going to be interesting to see what Dhoni wants, because Moeen Ali can hit big sixes. We saw that even during the Test series. Sam Curran has bats really well, and then of course you've got your pure batsmen. So
yeah,
very interesting. I'm actually very keen to follow CSK. A lot of
yeah,
chat around, is this Dhoni's last season or not? A lot of people believe it's not. So
definitely
so
not.
that's good then.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And I just say, for those of you listening as a podcast, this won't make as much sense, but we're doing this live right now on YouTube and we're getting comments. And one of them that I thought was great was Amit says, MSD is DJ's blind spot. So I thought that was a pretty good line.
It
Because
is, and
very
it's so true. Like when I think of 2020, right? IPL 2020, Delhi did so well, but when I think of it, it's just in the vacuum. What I remember is MSD taking that catch with one glove off, and him smashing that 102-meter six. And for me, I'm just enjoying these dying embers of the great man. I mean, the last week has been full on our timelines with MSD hitting that six, right? 2nd of April 2011. But I mean, I'm just enjoying these last few moments of MSD on the field. So it's true, completely true, and well done, Ashwin, on picking that up.
Everyone's allowed a blind spot. So let's move then to the next team. Number 6 on the table is the Kings 11 Punjab. Oh no, that's wrong. It's the Punjab Kings. Man, that's going to be hard to remember. I feel like I'm just going to call them Kings 11 Punjab.
We still call them the Delhi Daredevils, so it's going to take a few years for sure.
Yeah, so the Punjab Kings. Now, these guys just have to figure out a way to win. I think that's it. I can't find too many things wrong with their squad. I think they've got enough Indian players, big Indian players. I think they have enough overseas players. They probably need to sort out their bowling a little bit, because I just remember that match against RR with Tewatia took the attack to them and just finished them off. So Ashwin, talk us a little bit through Punjab Kings.
Yeah, first off, if you were going to change name, and like you and I are marketing people, man, if you go through the rebranding exercise and redo everything, you should have picked something different. There were so many anyway, that's fine. I'll get off my you already have a Royals, you have a Super Kings, you have too many Royal challengers. Just go away from the royalty theme. But that aside, this was interesting because Varun, you set it up saying they just need to find a way to win. And when I started reading up and saying, okay, how am I going to preview Punjab? I thought I'm going to like bottom 4. Right? That's where they're going to net out. Pretty straightforward. No questions. Then you start looking at the squad and you say, this team should do much better than they've performed. And I think exactly as you said, they just need to find a way to win. And so many close games last year, 6 months ago in the IPL, just escaped them. They all went just against Punjab when they could have gone either way. So what I'll say is, on paper, Chris Gale, Mayank and KL Rahul. I think Nicholas Puran will probably get a game. Either him or Dawid Malan will play as well, right? Like both, all solid cricketers, a great top 5 in terms of batting. I'm going to skip the number 6 slot and come back to it because that's what I think is interesting. From a bowler standpoint, it was Shami and Jordan last year, and Jordan kind of fell a little bit short. Their acquisition of Riley Meredith, who bowls consistently at 145 plus, that could be an X factor there. So I'm looking forward to seeing Shami and Riley Meredith. Of course, Jai Richardson as well is going to play in. So they're going to have a challenge to figure out which 4 overseas guys slot in. I think the difference this year needs to be how KL Rahul bats. Is he going to go for it from ball 1? Is he going to be more aggressive, faster strike rates, batting for his spot in Team India? And B is that number 6 slot I mentioned. They acquired the young Indian cricketer Shah Rukh Khan. which aside from all the Shah Rukh and Preeti jokes, I think is a explosive finisher. So he's young. He needs time. He's going to need game practice. It is going to be overwhelming for him to be playing the IPL against big, well-known cricketers. But if that guy can finish the way he did in some of the domestic tournaments, that the potential Punjab have with that number 6, just to hit some giant sixes, is going to be huge. So I'm going to be watching that slot really closely to see if he can close for Punjab.
Interesting. So I think for me, Punjab had a great IPL auction this year in January. They picked up David Malan and Jai Richardson, two really good T20 bowlers. And Ashwin, you said Puran may not play. I think Puran is the X factor player. So to me, my personal view is Nicholas Puran plays. I think this is the year where, again, like previous years, you're going to see Chris Gayle not start, right? And he's probably going to make way for the number 1 T20 batsman in the world, David Malan. And Chris Gayle coming in is just going to be a matter of other people's form and whether or not they're winning the game. But between Jai Richardson, David Malan, Nicholas Puran, I think you've got 3 really solid overseas players, KL Rahul, Mayank Agarwal to open. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good team. I really, really want to see them succeed. I think in the history of the IPL, the 2 North Indian teams, Delhi Capitals and Kings 11 Punjab, have had the worst IPL history ever. So I really, really hope that they come out. And I think worst case, at least we'll get some good memes from Wasim Jaffer. So that's always the upside with the Kings, but with the Punjab Kings.
And at least we're joined to us now with the Punjab Kings, right? Till now, Delhi hadn't reached a final till last year. So at least Punjab would reach one in, I think, 2014 or something, and then they lost.
I mean, I think Delhi Capitals has always been in playoffs.
Yeah, we've had a great run.
Delhi Capitals have had an amazing...
That's what the Punjab Kings are hoping will happen.
Yeah.
It's a new
Punjab
new
Kings
team.
are new. This is their debut season, and they have a lot to live up to, especially with Delhi Capitals making the playoffs every season. DJ, we're going to come to the team that I hate the most, the KKR, right? Shah Rukh Khan's Kolkata Knight Riders.
The actor, not the cricketer.
The actor. I have a running
How can
joke.
you? Why do you hate them so much? Because you love Shah Rukh Khan.
Because all my friends are from Calcutta, and it's like a 5-on-1 whenever Delhi plays Calcutta. And I just cop.
You mean whenever
all the
Delhi
blows.
beats Calcutta, right?
Yeah, especially that super over, Rabada versus Russell. But I just, I take a lot of flack for KKR versus Delhi games, and I love giving it back. But the running joke I have is that KKR is a great team. They're very consistent. They come 5th every year, and I don't see any problem with that. So DJ, walk us through KKR, and are they going to come 5th again this year?
Yeah, so headed by Captain Morgan, coach Brendan McCullum. They had the captaincy musical chairs drama last year, right? So DK was captain, now he's vice captain, gave up the captaincy halfway on. Morgan took it over. One of the few teams that actually have, Ashwin's just showing us on screen the Russell being bowled by Rabada from the Super Over 2018, 2019? Just great. Just great. Anyway, coming back to the point at hand. So they had the captaincy musical chairs. Nitish Rana had a scare with COVID. He's now tested negative, so luckily he's back in. Their strengths, man. I mean, when you look at their squad, right? You look at their middle order. You've got what? You've got Rana, DK, Morgan, Russell, Shakib, Cummins, Bhaji. They bat pretty deep now. Bhaji's just moved over, right? So for me, their strengths are their gun middle order. They've got a really strong spin attack. They've got Varun, Chakravarti, Narayan. See, I said Narayan and not Nareen, although every instinct wanted me to say Nareen.
Ishaan Kishan and Sunil Narayan.
Yeah, Ishaan Kishan and Sunil Narayan. But Bhaji is now in. Varun Chakravarti, as I mentioned, I think before. So they've got a really good spin contingent. They've got a really strong middle order, right? And they can really accelerate. Their openers were a little bit of a question, but I think Gill will take that spot along with Tripathi. I think Tripathi should bat up top. No question about it. But their weaknesses are going to be their inexperienced quicks, Indian quicks. The openers can be a little bit hit and miss. Other than Gill bats kind of like in that Rahul mode, right? Kind of anchoring the innings a little bit over a run a ball. The big question is, can Andre Russell make an impact this IPL? And last year he did not make an impact at all. And I can't remember. I mean, every time he came in, there was that anticipation, but he did very little. The other big name that failed for them last year was Sunil Narayan. I think he bowled well in a couple of games and
He
he hit
batted well
150 against
in
Delhi.
one game.
Yeah, against
And
Delhi.
that was against Delhi.
Yeah, I remember that, which was irritating.
It must have been fun for you, right?
Yeah. But he's faded, man. And since he's remodeled his action, he isn't that absolute banker that he used to be. So I actually think Shakib will play instead of Narayan to give them that left arm spin option, as well as Shakib's batting is much more reliable than Narayan.
So DJ, talk us through that, right? Because everyone I have spoken to has said Shakib is the buy of the IPL auction. He's the best purchase, and sure, he's good, but where are you going to play him? Does he? I mean, are you really saying he gets ahead of Narayan?
Yeah, I would pick him ahead of Narayan. I just think Narayan hasn't delivered the results in the last couple of seasons. Really, he was incredible with his old action. Like you couldn't get him off the square. His batting is faded. Now they've figured out that he can't bat against a short ball. And I mean, let's face it, Shakib, if he was an Indian player, would walk into this team every single time. He's just that good. He's great with the ball, bowls that left arm spin, quite economical, bats kind of 5-6, and he can hit the ball hard.
Shakib, if he was an Indian player, he'd walk into the Indian national side.
That's true as well.
Middle order bat who can bowl number 4.
But for me, the question is, how match fit is Shakib? Right, he's been out for that whatever match fixing issue that he had. He didn't disclose, and he was out for a year. Served his ban pretty much during COVID, so didn't actually lose that much. But how many games has he played since then? He's played a little bit. But I think he gets in ahead of Narayan just because of Narayan just because of his consistency with the bat, feels well and can bowl well. So as a complete package, maybe 3 years ago you would have picked Narayan without blinking. In fact, I think he was the top T20 player in the world a little while ago, just on the basis of CricViz stats or whatever. But I think now Shakib comes in, and the bowling is inexperienced on the quick side, other than Cummins, the most expensive player last year. I think they've got to play either Mavi or Nagarkoti and Prasidh Krishna. So that is the spot that other teams will target, that those two inexperienced Indian seamers, right? I think Bhaji gets in ahead of Varun Chakravarti to start with for fitness reasons as well as experience reasons. Yeah, I've actually just given you the 11, unfortunately.
Ashwin, do you agree with that? Because I think Morgan, Russell and Cummins are 3 out of 4 who are going to play every game. But do you agree that Shakib is going to replace Narayan?
I think we're also forgetting this very high impact New Zealand quick who did a lot of good work in the last season. That's Lockie Ferguson. So suddenly now, if you remember, he came in, I don't think he played the first few games. He came in a little later. He picked up 4 wickets a couple of times, if I'm remembering correctly. So I think they have a serious challenge with overseas players. I don't think Shakib will start. That's my prediction, at least. I think they'll start Narayan, and they will probably go with the same batting experiment with Narayan up top, etc. And when it starts to fail, they'll realize Shakib gives them that critical balance. So that's my prediction.
And that's when Tripathi will come to the party. But also Kuldeep, man, he doesn't get a game in this 11, I feel. I don't know. I just feel he's lost so much confidence. You've got Varun Chakravarti ahead of him. You've got Bhaji now ahead of him. You've got Shakib ahead of him. Just a tough. I'm just answering some of the questions that have come in on YouTube. Just a tough spot for a young cricketer like Kuldeep to be in. So I don't think he starts for them, unfortunately.
Very interesting. So, guys, we finished 4 out of the 8 teams. We're going to take a CEAT strategic timeout now. But just before we do that, DJ actually reminded me, for all the listeners out there, some of you have been with us for a long time. Some of you are new. The IPL to us is associated with Mr. Danny Morrison. And we had the privilege of doing an episode with him last year, just before the IPL started. One of us, I won't name who, imitated Danny Morrison to Danny Morrison. So if you want to check that out, go to Edges and Sledges episode 123, number 123, and give Danny Morrison's a listen and a shout out if you enjoyed that episode. With that, we're going to be back after the CEAT strategic timeout. Welcome. I was hoping you'd do that. So welcome back from the CEAT strategic timeout, right? So we covered Rajasthan Royals, Chennai Super Kings, Punjab Kings, and KKR. It's now down to a team that has also not ever won an IPL trophy, led by a captain who's never won a trophy. A lot of debate around the captaincy. Ashwin, I'm talking about Royal Challengers Bangalore. Are they the Royal Challengers still, or the Challenge Royalers, or they haven't changed their name, right?
Bangalore Challenge Capital Royals
Yeah.
Super Kings.
That is a great name. That is just a great name.
Can you just repeat that for our listeners?
I probably can't. I don't remember what I said, so that's fine.
Nice.
Yeah. So let's get into RCB. I love watching RCB play. I love AB de Villiers and Kohli's friendship. Even when Kohli was, getting in before the T20s versus England, he called up AB de Villiers, who told him to watch the ball, which seems like very simple advice, but it clearly worked for Kohli. Talk us through RCB.
It's interesting, man. Like every year I think this is going to be RCB's year. Every year I back them. I think last year I picked them to be top 4, maybe finalists. I don't remember. But the downside of it being on a recorded podcast is somebody can go back and listen and highlight what I predicted. But I think they've basically made a couple big moves, right? Chris Morris, obviously we talked about, got dropped by RCB and sent over to the Royals. But they brought in Glenn Maxwell, which is a big move. And they brought in Kyle Jamieson. I actually think the latter might be more interesting. I think they overpaid for him, but he might be more interesting. You brought in this new quick bowler, 6'8", right? Has a big bouncer, but also a killer Yorker or a fuller delivery. I think he could be a difference maker. But essentially, on kind of what you were saying, right? There's 2 things I highlighted. Their core is the same, right? Padikkal basically got, cemented his place at the top of the order up front. I'm reading in the comments, it looks like he's going to be out with COVID for the first few games. So that might be interesting for them to think about. But, for the season, Virat said he's going to open. So very interesting. Then you have AB in the middle order. You may play Maxwell. I think what's the most interesting for me is the 3. And by the way, Jameson is a good bowler on the order. Chahal, obviously rock solid. I'm a big fan of Chahal. There are 3 bowlers who since the last IPL have become bigger, 2 of who at least have become bigger names in Test cricket. And that is Washington Sundar, who has almost established his place in the future of Indian Test cricket. Mohammad Siraj, who I think went from all the bad jokes about like Dinda Academy and giving 60 runs every game and all that to becoming, he spearheaded the pace attack in Australia when in his second match. And then Navdeep Saini has also, I think, come a long way with the red ball. So for me, the question is, can those 2 quick, Siraj and Saini, transfer their form over from red ball to white ball? If they can do that, RCB has the batting to survive. They just historically haven't been able to defend totals. Their bowling hasn't been able to do it. But if your Siraj and Saini can become spearhead pace bowlers, allows you to pick Maxwell, AB, Kyle Jamieson, and maybe even a Dan Christian or somebody to give you that all-around depth. So enough options come in if your 2 Indian quicks can come good. So that's going to be the key for RCB season for me.
DJ, I'm going to ask you, where is that number 5 batsman? Because you've got Devdi, you've got Kohli, AB de Villiers, and Glenn Maxwell. And then after that, you've got to remember you've got a lot of bowlers and you have overseas restriction on players, right? So you maybe have got 1 more overseas all-rounder slot that you could play. But when I look through their lineup, essentially you're going to have to play this new kid called Mohammad Azharuddin, right? He is going to be the number 5 because it's either him or Sachin Baby. And I mean, both are just great names. They're just reminding me of
Sachin and us.
Cape Town.
Cape Town. Yeah, I was just going to say.
That's all you're thinking of.
Cape Town. As I was reading it out, I was just like, Mohammad Azharuddin and Sachin playing at number 4 and 5 for India.
Let's be honest. You also want to say Sachin Baby in like the Austin Powers voice, right?
Yeah.
You just do it. What? Go.
Me. Yeah. So DJ, where who is going to play? And again, is that the middle order? Is Mohammad Azharuddin your number 5? And is he the answer? Because something still seems to be missing in this RCB squad. And no matter how much I enjoy watching them bat, I can't help but think they're going to face the same problem this year.
So Kohli, I think, is going to open the batting, right? So maybe I think the guy who comes up to bat up the order is actually Washington Sundar. We saw this from Ravi Shastri saying he's going to ask his Tamil Nadu coach to bat him higher. Maybe Washington comes up, but otherwise you've got to play this guy Azharuddin. I think he got a 36 or 35 ball 100 in the Syed Mushtaq Ali
Yeah,
Trophy. If
he,
I'm
he
not
did
wrong.
really well, and like Harsha Bhogle and everyone was talking about him. But I'm saying, DJ, even if you're right, you're saying Virat Kohli and Dev D opening. You're saying maybe put a Sundar at 3, an AB de Villiers at 4, and a Maxwell at 5, right? So is that the order? Is that what you would go with?
I think you'd put AB at 3, you'd put Maxi at 4, and you'd put Washington at 5.
Okay.
That would be the logical order for me.
So essentially what you're saying is from number 5 to 11, you've got bowlers.
Pretty much, but Jameson can bat, remember? Kyle Jameson can bat. Dan Christian might come in, as Ashwin said. It's tough, man. They've got kind of those marquee players. They've got Daniel Sams, remember? We traded him for... so he might come into the middle order as well. But it's... so I think AB definitely plays. I think the question is, does Maxi fire? Because frankly, he hasn't scored runs for any franchise since, I want to say 2014, when the IPL was last in Dubai. And the moment the IPL came back to India, he didn't even score in that tournament. So, I mean,
It's almost
Maxi is
like you could
just
call
one of
him
those
Glenn Minwell, not Maxwell.
Minuel.
Can we fire Varun from the show for that?
Can we edit this part out of the live show somehow?
No, it was horrible, dude. You made fun of my jokes before. This is like worthy of having a DJ and I taking a vote and voting you off the island.
So we have an opening, guys. If you want to apply, send us an email. contact@onetip1hand.com.
But if you make a joke like Maxwell and Minwell, then you're not eligible for this. You're out.
Indeed. Anyway, but I think that's what it's going to be. Like, jokes apart, I think Sundar bats up higher up the order because you've seen he's capable with the bat, right? And then these kind of bit part Dan Christians, Daniel Sams, Kyle Jamisons, they shore up the lower middle order. So Sundar is a genuine batsman. We've seen that in the test game. We've seen him perform before in the IPL as well. So give him a few more balls out there. But I mean, think about it. You've got Kohli, De Villiers, Maxwell. That's a crazy 3, 4, 5. And De Villiers has to bat 3 because he's just wasted batting anywhere lower than 3, really, in my view.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, they also bought somebody called Finn Allen who just lit up
he
the
scored
T20
50
series.
Yeah, pretty good.
Not to be mistaken with Fabian Allen, who
yes, I was thinking Fabian Allen. Fabian Finn.
Has anyone picked up this Devon Conway guy?
Not yet, I think.
Because Chennai might look at him as a replacement, I think, for Hazelwood. Ironically, they might get a batter instead of Hazelwood. Clearly. Maybe he'll bowl to Pujara in the next.
You never know. No, it's an interesting one. I have a feeling that guy might just make it into this team. Also, remember, we don't know who's keeping yet, right? I think Mohammad Azharuddin is a keeper, if I'm not mistaken. But it'll be interesting because AB de Villiers is not going to keep, in my opinion. Not the entire IPL. He might start off a couple of games because as a favor to Virat, but it's going to be an interesting one. DJ,
I actually do think. Sorry, just to close that out, I do think he will. AB will keep, just to give them that option.
Yeah, it gives them more flex, right? Like AB should keep if he's fit and is able to. Definitely.
Yeah, very interesting. DJ, let's come to the Sunrisers Hyderabad. These guys had essentially 2 key buys at the auction. One was Kedar Jadav and the other was Mujib. And I think Mujib was bought because Rashid needed some company in the bio bubble. Otherwise, I can't see any reason for Sunrisers to pick up Mujib. But Kedar, I know you'll talk about him a little bit. Talk us through the Sunrisers Hyderabad. Personally, all jokes aside, I think Kedar is a fantastic buy for the Hyderabad team.
Oh yeah, and he's part of my best 11. But it's interesting that I've got the cities. I've got CSK because I love Dhoni. I've got Kolkata because I used to live there for 6 years. I've now got Sunrisers Hyderabad. I've spent 9 years of my life in Hyderabad through school and university. So interesting how this has worked out. We actually just divided it alternating.
I'm pretty sure you divided it on the group. So I'm pretty sure
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that. But interesting that...
you left me with Punjab and Bangalore, who've never done anything in this IPL. All right, anyway.
Correct. And so to mention that Sunrisers have won the IPL once in 2016, beating the RCB in the final. Heartbreak for RCB fans, of course. Captained by David Warner, a nice guy, Saint. coached by Trevor Bayliss, ex-England coach. And they've just got the services of Jason Roy from England, which was an interesting acquisition. I suspect that's probably because Warner's groin injury continues to trouble him. As Varun has previously pointed out, no one can actually check how bad the groin is doing.
But every time, like, this guy's a 5 functioning adult. Every time as soon as you said the word groin, you could see him smile. Like, he's chuckling to himself at the groin injury.
Varun, groin.
Go for it.
Groin for it. Anyway, back to it. Their strengths, they've got Natarajan, and they've got Bhuvi. Fantastic death bowlers and two like Yorker specialists. So for me, their strengths are their best death bowling attack. Their weaknesses, they're a really boring team to watch. I find them extremely dull to watch Sunrisers Hyderabad games, but maybe that's just a weakness for me. The batting is highly dependent on Warner. There's too many kind of overseas. How do you... They've got Bairstow, they've got Nabi, they've got Rashid, now they've got Mujib. How do you fit all of these players in, man? It's really tough, I think, for these guys to work out what their best combination is, and that affects them going through a tournament like the IPL, where you've got 14 games and you don't know what your best 11 is from day one. They've got Kane. I mean, of course, I forgot to mention him. And then for me, you pointed out Kedar Jadav. I thought he's a fantastic acquisition for them because their middle order then becomes, they've got, I think their opener is going to be either Warner or Roy. Saha or Bairstow will open with him. I think Saha came in last year and lit up the IPL before he again pulled his hamstring and left. So depending on form, I think they'll have Saha or Bairstow open. Now the middle order becomes important, right? Pandey, one of Ashwin's favorite players, he bats at 3 for me. Kane bats at 4, fantastic batsman. Shankar, or as Ashwin calls him, Hardik Pandya 4.0, takes number 5 for me. And then 6 is Kedar for me. And the reason Kedar is 6 is because you've then got one of the 2 youngsters, either Samad, who's that big hitting all-rounder, or Priyam Garg, batting at 7. So I think that's why Jadav becomes important, to bring that experience to that middle order and that golden arm, so to speak, with his side arm under the wicket stuff that he bowls and Varun loves so much. And then the bowlers are brought up by Rashid Khan, Bhuvi. There's Sandeep Sharma, there's Khalil, and as I mentioned, Nattu. So for me, the key players for them, Rashid Khan, as always, David Warner and Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. And that's been the story for the last 5 years, right? So nothing new. They seem to reach the playoffs with that kind of team effort every year. So I wouldn't write them off, but I find the games that they play, I mean, a little bit dull to watch. And maybe that's just me.
Yeah, it's fair. People have said it's dull, but when Hyderabad need to win 3 in a row or 4 in a row, you can count on Warner and the team really stepping it up. And I think they did that last year as well. So I think very interesting side. Jason Holder has been key for them in crucial moments in the game. I think the return of Bhuvi is going to be fantastic. Natarajan bowling those Yorkers, and I personally think they're a very balanced side. So yes, DJ, you said they play boring cricket. They just added Kedar to that, and he plays very boring cricket. So it's a good fit,
but it's effective, right? And
yeah,
they kind of back themselves to put a 160, 170 type score and back their bowling to defend it. And they've got an exciting player in Virat Singh, and he did well in the local tournaments, domestic tournaments before this. So obviously the name is pretty famous. Let's see if we can emulate his namesake, Virat.
Who do we have? Sachin, Azhar, and Virat now?
Yeah.
Nice.
We're just waiting for Sunil now and Kapil turn up, and that we'll have a full set of all-time greats.
All right. Okay, so we're going to come to the big one, the Delhi Capitals. The 3 boys on this podcast have followed them for 13 years. We have been excited. We've been through the highs and the lows. First off, Ashwin, talk us through that captaincy change. How disappointing is it for Shreyas? And how ironic is that Pant is a new temporary captain?
Yeah, that line is just great, right? Rishabh Pant's iconic line to Tim Payne in Australia was, "Have you ever heard about a thing called a temporary captain?" And then he's now temporary captain. Who knows? It'll happen. I'm gutted for Shreyas, both for him and for the side. And I think it's interesting. There's a message kind of on Twitter, I think in some of our YouTube comments as well, just around like, hey, is this a blessing in disguise? Because Pant gets to step up. And I feel like that constantly undermines what Shreyas did for this team, both as a skipper and as a batsman. He's had a phenomenal run. I love that guy at number 4. He floats down up and down the order. I've said this for Team India, but he anchors when he needs to. He hits big when he needs to. So just a great kind of all-purpose player, if you will, right? Who slots in. So got it for Shreyas. Big call to give Rishabh Pant the captaincy, right? Like we haven't talked about that much on the show. Very exciting. We're all big fans of Pant. Well-deserved. He's had a great few months. But this guy, less than 2 years ago, was getting a year ago even, was getting all the criticism. Doesn't have a solid head on his shoulders, needs to work on his technique, keeps falling over, keeps coughing while he bats, all these things. And now he's captain of a IPL franchise. He has to oversee Smith. He has to oversee Rahane. He has to oversee Ashwin. Like, this is going to be a big job. I think just knowing what we know about Pant's personality, he'll be a captain by consensus kind of. So he will be taking input from all of them. But it'll be interesting when he has to disagree with and tell Steve Smith and Ravi Ashwin to do something that they didn't want to. So excited for him, but also a big, big, big challenge.
Yep, I think I agree with that. It's always interesting when wicket keepers become captains, and I think in Pant's case, this could really go either way. I think he could look. He's young. Let's be honest about it. He could crumble under that pressure, and we have to be okay with that. We have to give him that benefit that if it happens, it's okay. We back you. We support you. But I think more than anything, it could make him more mature as a player. It could put a price on his wicket, especially in T20 and IPL. It could make him think a lot more. Maybe he just stands up midway and says, guys, I'm going opening. I'm taking advantage of the power play. And you might just see a new opener for Delhi, a new opener for India. I think that's
do you want him to become a more mature player that puts a price on his wicket, though? Isn't the point that just let's unleash him as he is?
No, I do. I want him to become more mature as a player. I want him to play more valuable knocks for India. I want him to be in all 3 formats. I want him to improve as a keeper. I want him to play till he's 39 years old. So there's a lot.
And then go serve in the army during the year off.
729. Consider me retired. Right?
Yeah, so I want.
But this is part of the problem.
Him.
We're trying to convert him into MSD. That's a natural comparison that is being drawn.
I think we're not. I think we're trying to. We're just trying to say I'm trying to say I want you to play cricket for a long time. I want you to be a very good limited overs player, because you're not. He's not a good limited overs player today. We have to accept that he's a fantastic Test cricketer. He can unleash and explode. But there's a lot more required of him. So let's see if his game awareness improves. Let's see if his maturity level improves. Let's see if he can balance everything. It's going to be tough, guys. So all you Delhi Capitals fan out there, don't be disappointed if things don't go according to plan this season. Hey, we haven't been disappointed for 13 years. So don't bring it out on one kid this year, but really wish him all the best. DJ, tell us who are going to be the key players. Who's going to play in that 11?
So, of course, Akshar is currently ruled out with COVID. He's in a quarantine and he's going to have to pass his negative tests and stuff. The South Africans will join a week late, so they'll miss the first game for sure, and then maybe the second game. So Rabada and Nokia, who would be walking into the first 11, will be a bit late. But for me, the key players are Rishabh Pant, obviously, and Prithvi Shaw. Now, Rishabh Pant, we just spoke about his captaincy, right? And for me, I love the fact that we've given it to him, and I think it's deserved. He was the vice captain last year, and it's a natural succession, right? And vice captain becomes captain, and we're giving him responsibility. My only worry and fear, I'm very happy for him. It's just that he's just coming out of that funk, right? He's just finding himself. He's just enjoying cricket again. And we've now given him this responsibility. How is he going to deal with it? And it's a high profile appointment, right? And he has captained before at first class level. I think in 2017, Achal Verma, actually one of our listeners, pointed out that he's captained Delhi to a Ranji Trophy final. So he has experience, but that's my only worry about it. I mean, it's the decision's been made. We have to back him. We have to take whatever comes. But Pant did not score a run last year. Let's remember that. And Delhi made the finals. With Pant in this kind of form, and we're playing, I think, games in Ahmedabad. We're playing games in Mumbai. We're playing some games in Kolkata. All good batting tracks. Chennai is the other one, which isn't the other ground we're playing at. But if Pant can kick on, and just scores some runs, I mean, Delhi Capitals look like a completely different team. So for me, Shaw, after his Vijay Hazare, be looking to prove a point, and Pant will be the key players. And of course, the bowling lineup, we've got every base covered. That's why I love this team. We're the only team, I think, that can give the Mumbai Indians a run for their money this year. Genuinely suited to all conditions. The key players in terrific form. All the bases are covered. We've got great backups, and there's no newbies, really. Everyone's got experience on their side. So I think only weakness, perhaps lack of captaincy experience at this level, and a slow top order with Shikhar, Jinx, maybe. Yeah, but
So I
good,
so
good team.
yeah, so I think this year the guy to watch out for is going to be Prithvi Shaw. And I think Prithvi Shaw, if he fires, he's going to take that pressure off Rishabh Pant. Prithvi Shaw has a lot to prove. He wants people to see his name back up there and be like, he deserves all the credit he was given. So I think Prithvi Shaw is going to be key this season. Of course, Shikhar Dhawan is going to be there. And I also think the fact that Shreyas Iyer is out, I think Steve Smith is a straight shoe into the team. I think he plays from the start for me. It'll be interesting to see if, Ponting and Pant feel the same way. But I personally, I think Steve Smith will play.
So Smith bats 3 for you, right?
Yeah.
So you're not playing Hetmeyer then?
I am not a big fan of Hetmeyer, to be
Because
honest.
you cannot leave out one. You're not leaving out Rabada, Nokia, or Stoinis.
Yeah, exactly. So I would play Steve
So
Smith.
you've hated Hetmeyer for a while, actually. I should have.
Yeah, a long time. I just don't like him, and I mean he's in Delhi. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I think they're going to play Steve Smith. At least they're going to start with Steve Smith.
I think what would be interesting for me is
Stoinis doesn't open. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I think what would be interesting for me is while Rabada and Nokia are late, if Wokes and Curran slot in to do those 2 overseas bowling slots and they start great, then what do you do? I mean, it's a problem of plenty, but it's awesome. But they can both bat. And so that suddenly changes your depth if you play players like Wokes and Curran. Rabada and Nokia are a different level, but it'll just be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to find that balance, and that's why I think Smith will start, but you might end up with Hetmeyer later. I think you've got Pant and Stoinis towards the end to just explode. So it'll be interesting. Let's hope that there's not too much shuffling in the order. And that brings us to our last team, the finalist of the IPL 2021, Mumbai Indians. They have just been magnificent. I think Rohit Sharma is looking for his 5th win as captain. 6th.
Oh,
yeah.
5th
Yeah, he's got
captain. But
Sixth. Yeah, and he's looking for his 3rd on the trot, which I don't think has been done before. Guys, I'm not even going to come to either of you on Mumbai Indians. There's not much to say, except I think these guys have figured out the T20 model. These guys have figured out the IPL. They've got backups for people at every position. Even in the auction this year, they were very targeted in who they wanted to buy. Adam Milne, Gulten Nile, Piyush Chawla, Jimmy Neesham, of course, Ajit Tendulkar, who I think will be great experience for him. But the crux of this team and the guys who have made the last 2 years possible and very successful are Surya Kumar Yadav and Ishaan Kishan. Their form has been fantastic. They're not the big names, but along with Rohit Sharma and Quinton Cock, they form a big part of that top 4.
Kishan.
Ishaan Kishan. Hardik Pandya, Krunal Pandya, Bumrah, I think Pollard. It's too good. This team is just too good. I wish they were a national team. They would have won the World Cup every time.
But they can't play Rajasthan Royals.
And I was just going to say that since 2018, they've played Rajasthan Royals 6 times and lost 5. And I have a feeling that's due to individual brilliance by people like Stokes and Butler. So they have their win percentage against Rajasthan in the last 2 years is 16%. After that, Hyderabad at 50%. And to my happiness, their win percentage against KKR is 83%. So they really beat KKR. So KKR fans, if you're waiting for a Mumbai Indians match which decides if you make the playoff or not, I wouldn't be too excited about that prospect. Guys, that's it. We've covered all the teams. I'm now going to ask you for your top 4 predictions and the orange and purple cap holders. Ashwin, why don't you go first?
Ooh, I didn't really think about this. All right. Top 4. Delhi Capitals. Not in order, right? Just top 4.
Yeah.
Delhi Capitals.
Top 3. Mumbai Indians and top 3.
Yeah, Mumbai Indians. And next 3. So Delhi, Mumbai, Punjab Kings and Sunrisers Hyderabad. So for me, the wild card is going to be Punjab this year. I think as I was previewing them, I realized if they come good, they're going to be great. And Rahul has a point review. That's my top 4. Go to DJ for top 4 while I think of purple and orange cap.
Okay, DJ, your top 4. And orange and purple.
Yeah, so Mumbai Indians, of course. Delhi Capitals, close second. Sunrisers look good, man. So I have to agree with Sunrisers as well. But I'm gonna go with CSK as my wild card because I just can't. I mean, I can't see them not making the playoffs 2 years in a row, and it's obviously going. It's going to be wrong. It's like my England prediction, 3-0. But I want CSK to make it. I want MSD to make the playoffs, to leave a legacy. I mean, it's an incredible legacy already, right? And 3-time champions. It made the. I thought the joke was they played the IPL to work out who played CSK in the final. You changed the joke to Mumbai Indians.
It used to be that. Mumbai Indians is too strong.
So they played 6 weeks to work out who played CSK in the final. But that joke has been changed by you this year. But I just want MSD to go out on a high, man. As I've said it's my blind spot. And on paper, they look okay. And they're just slow in the field. And if they... it's about outthinking the opposition. And Dhoni's had a lot of time to do that since the last IPL. So those are my top 4. Looking forward to a cracking IPL, man.
Awesome. My top 4 are Mumbai Indians, DC, Sunrisers Hyderabad, and the Rajasthan Royals. They are going to make it this year, guys. They are
the double R's.
Make it.
I feel like you were so critical when we were previewing, though.
No, I wasn't. I love Stokes. I love Butler. I love Samson. I think they're going to be excellent this year.
I like that no one has picked KKR who finished 5th.
Yeah, they're going to finish 5th.
We know they're going to finish.
We know they're going to finish 5th. There's nothing to discuss there.
Brilliant.
Awesome. Okay, guys, none of you are quick enough with your purple and orange, so we're going to skip that. My orange.
I can give you my purple and orange.
I can go. I'm ready now.
Okay. Wait, let me give you mine first before you guys copy me. My orange cap is Sanju Samson, and my purple cap is Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. And I hope I got the order right because I don't think Bhuvaneshwar Kumar is going to hit 600 runs.
If Sanju takes 20 wickets, that'll be really something.
That'll be excellent.
Okay. My orange cap is Suryakumar Yadav. The only downside is that he bats late and the openers do
No condition.
Fine.
Just give
Fine.
us.
No. Fine. So Suryakumar Yadav, and I'm going to get so much flack for this, mostly from you guys. But my purple cap is Chardon Tucker.
Yeah, I think that's probably possible.
He's just taking so many junk wickets, man. He's just found this knack of taking junk wickets. So I'm saying, put it out there. Done.
Insane. So I'm going to go. My orange cap winner is going to be Ishaan Kishan this year. I absolutely love the kid. It was hard to pick between him and Rishabh, so I'm going to go with Ishaan because Rishabh's won it 1 year, or he was top scorer 1 year. My purple cap holder, last year I picked Jaydev Uncapped, so that worked out well. I think this year I am going to go with Patrick Cummins because he had really started firing up at the end of the last IPL, and I think it worked out what this format was. So Pat Cummins for the purple cap holder for me, and Ishaan Kishan.
Awesome. So that's great. We're done with our IPL preview. Very excited. DJ, I'm going to come to you quickly to talk about the bat with Siat and the other giveaway they have from last week's episode. And Ashwin, going to come to you to wrap up with fantasy cricket for our listeners. DJ, over to you.
Yeah, guys. So I'm going to do the giveaway for Gulu's book first because we had a lot of awesome entries for that. And we have picked 3 winners for that giveaway. It is the giveaway of the myth busting behind the headlines of Indian cricket book. And we have 3 winners. The first one is Krishna Jaga. The second one is Somit M at the Crooked Skull. And the third one is Normally Crazy. That's Gautam. And I think Gautam's actually been on our show. And in fact, he's been writing in saying, send the book even before he's won. So that's clearly worked out well. Congratulations to all the winners of the giveaway for Gulu's book. It sounds like it's a fantastic book. So Krishna, Somit, and Gautam, congratulations to you. And now for the big one, the hashtag Bat with Siat contest. Now let me go to the wheel of names, which I've got in front of me, guys. I just have to click it. And the lucky winner will take home a cricket bat by Seat Tires, who's the title sponsor of our show. So here goes, guys. I'm just going to click it. It's going around.
YouTube comments are waiting with bated breath. It's landed.
And that's Som Singh 07147308. So Som, congratulations on winning a cricket bat by Seat Tires. Well done on answering the question, which was which cricketer has got to 400 test wickets before Ravichandran Ashwin, and how many test matches did he get that in? The answer was Muttiah Muralitharan. He got there in 72 test matches, which is just incredible because Ashwin got there in 77. And now, guys, for April, it's IPL season, right? And there's so many questions that you've been sending us. So I'm actually going to pick a question sent in to us by one of our listeners, Achal Verma. And he has given us a few options, right? The one that I really like, the question, and I'm going to, I don't know whether you guys will be able to pick this answer as well, but who is the leading uncapped wicket taker in the IPL? It's a very interesting question. Who is the leading uncapped wicket taker in the IPL? So the player who hasn't played for the national side but has taken a lot of wickets, right? Write into us at the rate of one tip, one hand, and use the hashtag #BatWithSeat. This is the question for April. Obviously, the wickets will be as of the 1st of April 2021, so before this IPL starts. Who has taken the most wickets as an uncapped player in the IPL? Before 1st of April 2021, before this edition starts, just in case someone goes past it. So guys, write in, and Varun, back to you, man. I think that wraps the hashtag #BatWithSeat giveaway contest.
Great. Ashwin, over to you for the fantasy.
Awesome. So IPL kicks off April 9th. Fantasy League season is here. We are playing on the official fantasy.iplT20.com platform like we've done for a couple of years now. We have an Edges and Sledges listener league and a fan league. And so please be sure to check that out. It's on our Twitter page, on our Discord channel. We'll put it on other social media, but definitely check it out. If you can't find it, send us a message, tweet, email, whatever, contact@onetiponehand.com. Find the code there, join it. Join the league and join the competition. It's going to be a lot of fun. I don't think we've quite decided yet what we're going to give away as a prize this year, but we will figure it out and there'll be something good. So we'll make sure the winner gets something fun. So make sure you play fantasy cricket with us this year.
And if you're in the UK, apparently you can use a VPN to play it. I'm just saying.
Apparently, with air quotes. There you have it. That's this week's episode. Like I said, it's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas. Few days to go. By the time we talk to you next, the IPL would have started. Stay tuned, guys. Drive safe for all of those of you who listen on your commute to our podcast. This is the Edges and Sledges podcast, brought to you by Seat. Okay, done. Okay, Vishnu, we're done. Hello.
Yeah.
Vishnu, are you there?
We need to stop going live. Stop live.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Yep, you're done. Yes, we're done.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Sorry, it still says live on my screen. That's why.
Well done, man, senior. Nice one.
This is great, dude, because every year you'll ask me to host this episode. It's the easiest episode to host. Because all
Because
of
you
you
just
have to do,
asked us.
yeah, because you have to do the work. And